Hi. So hi there. Yeah, this is something that I've been assigned to do as part of a course that I'm part of, where you have to interview someone who is involved with the arts in some way. And I'll just say I've really enjoyed your Laurel and Hardy shows. I did see the recent one on like the tour that you're currently doing, and I had seen you before and really enjoyed it. So it was nice to finally properly meet you. Yeah.
Where did you see this tour?
It was at the Theatre Seven.
Ah, yeah. Yes, of course. That's right. Good.
Yeah.
Pleased
So
you enjoyed it.
yeah. So I really enjoyed it. But I'd like to ask, in general, how well has this current tour been going for you?
Much better than anybody expected, I think.
Mm,
It is very hard to get an audience for Sign Up for Film. It helps when it's a kind of popular combo like Laurel and Hardy. And I took this tour out last time, as you saw, and we were getting kind of 150s to 200 in the audience. This time we're getting 200 to 400 in the audience. So we're doing much better than we did last time. We've got proper promotion behind us this year, which we didn't have last time. So we've got a guy who's just been handling promotion on the tour. So we've been getting more coverage on TV and radio, much more on radio, particularly local radio. And I've also had very useful support because I know people like Keris Matthews and Mark Kermode, and they've been plugging the tour for me, and I've been on being interviewed by them as well. So they that means that this is working well, but I have to say the current climate of shows like mine is quite difficult. Um, Theatre, cinema, live performance is all at the mercy of whatever's going on in the big wide world and whether or not people have got spare money to come and see shows. At the moment, things are very tough economically for an awful lot of people in this country, and they just haven't got the spare money. So it is a harder sell. People have got to decide if they want to spend 25 quid to come and see me, or I don't know, go and
mm,
see two cinema shows or something else. You know,
mm,
it's a toss up from that point of view. But I'm very pleased that we're getting the kind of response we are. And the only other slight kind of downside, it's nothing to do with the show or anybody involved with it, is that because your generation, for instance, doesn't
mm,
really know Hardy, we're not getting people of your age to the same
mm,
degree. We're getting a few, but we're
mm,
not getting lots of youngsters. And that's because Laurel and Hardy aren't on TV and haven't been
mm,
in 30 years or more. So I think the audiences are all much of my generation, my sort of age, and that's great. But I was really hoping we'd pick up more youngsters
mm.
because I think Laurel and Hardy still works. It's still even
Yeah.
after 100 years, their comedy is great, and everybody loves it, like you obviously do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Pick up many more people of your sort of age group. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I definitely am happy to be one of the younger fans and yeah, keeping their memory alive. Mm. Yeah, really enjoyed your show. Um, and yeah, a while before I was given the actual commission to do an interview with somebody, um, somebody did suggest me doing an interview with you before, because I have been to the Laurel and Hardy Museum before, and I have met Matty Cooper who works there, and I know he said he's met you before. Um, I think you've visited the museum, and I'd just like to ask, what has your experience been visiting that museum?
I mean, it's lovely. I love the passion and obviously real commitment that it has to the boys. I think it still feels a little bit like somebody's collection.
Mm,
Could do with being a bit better curated, is my feeling, because there's kind of bits and bobs all over the place. And I don't, what I would love, if possible, was for all those different things that they've got to do with Laurel and Hardy to tell the story of Stan and Ollie a little bit more.
mm,
Talk about where they came from, talk about how they got together, all the things I do in my show, basically.
mm,
And if there was some way of organizing them so that you got more of a sense of them coming together, of how they work together on their films, of what happened later on in their lives, about the tours. I think they have done some work on that. It's a lot more organized than it
mm,
was, but I think it could still do with being more organized than that. And there's a slight sense that they want Laurel and Hardy fans. They're not looking to appeal outside of Laurel and Hardy fans, and I think they should
mm,
because, as I say, the those two have influenced so many modern comics that if they could, I'm sure a few of the big names nowadays, Rob Brydon, Aid Edmondson, people like that, have
mm,
probably been to that museum. If they have, they should have grabbed them, got a photograph, got it up on the wall, done a big thing. Look who we've had in the museum, and really make the case that Stan and Ollie still have enormous influence over comedy today. That's something I'd love to see, but at the same time, it's brilliant that that stuff has all survived. I'm actually, if anything, I'm more impressed with Tony Butcher, who has taken over Stan Laurel's birthplace house,
mm,
because Tony is very proactive about the house and about what he feels about stuff. And the house itself is gorgeous. And the fact that if you are a big fan of Laurel and Hardy, you can contact him and ask if it's possible to come and have a look at the house, and he'll try and do everything he can to make that happen. That I think is the sort of thing you should be able to get people coming from the States or from Europe or from
yeah,
Russia or whatever who are interested in Laurel and Hardy who might actually do that, rock up to see Stan's birthplace house. And in a funny sort of way, that I think would even be more impressive than going to see the Laurel and Hardy Museum in Ulverston.
mm, yeah. I do remember seeing a Laurel and Hardy documentary. Um, I think it was a recent one where they show stuff at the museum, and also they do have Tony Butcher there, who lives in the Stan's old house where he was born. Yeah, can't quite remember what it was called, but it's like places like around the UK. I think maybe where Stan grew up, and also like where they performed when they did tours in Britain. Yeah, that was nice when I remember seeing that. Um, are there any Laurel and Hardy films that you haven't presented in your shows, and like done the piano tracks to, that you would like to do that with?
Not really. Because this is the second show, I've shown either clips or complete versions of pretty much all the films I really like from their silent era. Um, I'm not going to do a show about their sound
Yeah.
stuff because A, the rights on that are a lot more difficult, and B, obviously it's my job is to be a piano player, so I show as much as I can of their silent films. I don't think there's a third show in Laurel and Hardy. If I was trying to show something different every time, there are wonderful moments in some of the other films that I haven't been able to put into to this, but I'm pretty happy that I've covered the ground. And if if I was to go out with anything else to do with Laurel and Hardy, it would be in a completely different way. It would be something about comedy that would include modern comedy as well as them.
Mm. Um, I guess another question I had written down was, what was your earliest memory of Laurel and Hardy?
It was seeing them on TV. I might not even have been 10 years old. And I remember just being aware of the fact that even though I knew nothing about these two, they were obviously from somewhere very, very far away, and they had American accents, and they wore builders gear and bowler hats and stuff. I felt I knew them, And that's because I think they, and particularly Hal Roach, made their comedy happen in a real world, in a world that I knew, in a world that I could recognize. And I've made this point in the show, in the last few shows, that Chaplin is kind of inhabiting a Victorian world, but it's one in which he's sort of in charge of things, even though he's a tramp. Buster Keaton has got a kind of existential world in which everything out there is trying to kill him. Harold Lloyd is a very much a boy of the 20s, and he feels like someone who's in that kind of go-getting jazz age style of film. Whereas Stan and Ollie are in my world. You know, if you fall off a ladder, that could be Stan and Ollie. If you drop a pot of paint, if you stub your toe, you know, this is the kind of comedy they were getting. It's not outrageous. Oh, the odd outrageous thing happens, but for the most part, everything that they do that goes wrong, oh, excuse me, everything they do that goes wrong in a world we would all recognize, and I think that's quite important. So that's the thing I mostly remember, was that I thought I knew them even though I'd never seen them before. And I think that's part of their appeal, is that people do feel they're very accessible. They're very accessible comics. You don't have to know anything about the period that they were working to appreciate the comedy.
Yeah. Um, One other question I had written down was because in your shows you don't just play the piano while showing their films, you also do talk about them. Um, I don't know if you'd consider yourself to be sort of a film historian or anything, but are there any like film historians like that who you look up to, who you might have taken inspiration from?
Where Laurel and Hardy is concerned, absolutely. I used Laurel and Hardy, The Roots of Comedy. In fact, I suspect, yes, there it is. I use that.
Nice. Mm.
It is a superb Simon Luvish, that's it. It's a superb kind of breaking down of the films and them, and it puts the films in the context of what was going on in their lives at that time. And on that basis is absolutely fascinating because, you know, nothing in terms of art and creativity happens in a vacuum. Everybody involved in it is doing what they're doing because of their lives, their experiences, etc. So to find out, for instance, that Duck Soup, the first film that they made together as any kind of partnership, the main scenario of that was based on a scenario that Stan's dad had written for the music hall. And that made total sense. Once you know that this idea of two tramps breaking into a house that's actually about to be rented out to someone and pretending to be the owners, you know, that was Stan Jefferson. That's sorry, yeah, Stan Jefferson's idea before Stan Jr. then used it in the film, and that sort of thing. It brings them a bit closer. It makes them more understandable. And I
Mm.
really like the fact that what Simon Lubitsch is able to do is time and again say something about their lives at the times that they were working, which links 100% to what's happening in the film. You can see so much there. In terms of early film history, generally, Kevin Brownlow is extraordinary, and I have a huge amount of respect for him, and I know him very well, which is really nice,
Mm.
and have done for all the time I've been working as a piano player. I met him at only the second performance I ever gave, and I think there are a lot of people writing good stuff about film. I wouldn't call myself a film historian, but I'm a bit of a specialist with silent film.
Mm.
But that's really because I've had to learn to be in order to do the job.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all the questions I had written down. So yeah, this was a nice experience, getting to interview somebody. And hope this went well for you as well.
Yeah, but I'm very pleased it's worked, Jared. It's a real pleasure.
Mm,
Very nice to talk to you. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, certainly, and I really enjoyed your show. Hope the rest of your tour goes well. Uh,
Thank
yeah.
you. Good luck with the course that you're putting this in for.
Thank you. Yes. Right.
All the very best.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.